Good morning, everyone. This is Dawn here for Life Daily with Dawn, and today I'm going to be introducing a new series, a 7-day series that is actually leading up to a 12-day series that will run from April 1st to the 12th. So there is so much to share that I'm going to try to stay focused on our next 7 days. But first, I just wanted to have a little, kind of heart to heart with you and just say, wow, what an interesting time this is. So we have this pandemic situation happening globally, and many of us are in, at the very least, sheltered in place, or our movements are either restricted or our way of going through life has been challenged. And perhaps, if you are facing very serious challenges in terms of a loss of income, in terms of difficulties in relationships and or in your own just day-to-day life or your health, from my heart to yours, stay strong and trust and ask for the connection and the help that you need, and know that you are loved and you are loved. So I made a separate intro video yesterday, but unfortunately the technology wasn't cooperative, and in the scope of things, that's a very minor problem to be facing right now. And so we have all of these things happening externally. And then, if you turn on the news, it's a dire doomsday prediction one after the other. And indeed, this is an incredibly serious challenge that we are facing collectively within communities, and I would say also individually, because like it or not, we are all having to come up against what it is within us that is unresolved and or has not been attended to properly. And it's also an invitation, because in the seed of every crisis is, in every crisis there is the seed of opportunity. Not enough coffee yet. So that's what I believe firmly, and I've spoken about that a few places, so I won't go into that in depth, but that is actually the context for what we'll be doing as we move forward. So I'm going to try to stay succinct, but there is so much to share. And so today's video is an introduction to the next, I said 5 days, it's actually 7 days. The next 7 days, we will be talking about the next 7 years, 7 gates for our collective unfolding and for our individual transformation, and also and those 7 gates being passageways, large scale shifts, and they are opportunities. So I'll try to weave this together as seamlessly as I'm able to. Today is an overview or an introduction to our next 7 days. So the background for this is, it's all come so quickly. About 3 days ago, roughly, I had, as I often do, just the strongest call from Spirit to sit down and draw or doodle. Had no idea what I was doing, but quickly in succession came 12 of my sea doodles, Solescence art doodles, that were clearly, there were sea symbols, and they were clearly symbolic, and I understood them to be coded, if you will, or to contain connection points for all of us to what is unfolding right now. And as I see it, or as I've come to see it, initially, I thought it was one big, passage here that we're getting through. And now I see it as actually a series of unfoldings, again, for our good, for the hope of humanity, and for our own individual life thriving. And that's why I believe we are here. We are here to experience life and life to the full, to come to life and live in full expression. So everything I am sharing is in for that purpose. And what I am often guided to in my own inner connection and by Spirit given to share with you are big picture sort of movements in and out, and connecting points. And the connecting point for you might be very different than it is for another person who runs across this video now or in the future. And often I am told just to put these out there sorry, I need to change that setting, to put these out there and not worry about who watches them. So from a human perspective, that's a challenge, and it's quite funny. Sometimes I'm like, oh, hi, Dawn, I'm speaking to you, but hopefully somebody runs across this and gets something from it. So let me pause and change that setting. Okay, so the next 7 days, we're going to be focusing on this, the framework for the next 7 years that I was shown. And what we're going through now being the first of 7 gates, the first that correspond to the 7 years of 2020 through January of 2027. So 2020, 2021, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Each of those years is a gate. Now, there might be a specific global sort of situation, or it might just be the theme that is at play during that year. And so we're going to just do an overview today, and then I'm going to go more in depth into each of these, what I've been shown about each of these 7 opportunities, 7 gates or 7 years in the next 7 years that are a transition into a new society, rich in love. So I'm calling this series Passage to a New Society. And we're going to talk about these 7 gates during the next 7 years and how they correspond to the 7 wonders of the soul. Now, this is really interesting to me because this body of work, the 7 wonders of the soul, never got fully birthed to the world. It was something that was given to me in January of 1997, all in one afternoon, and it was so huge and vast that at the time I couldn't conceive of even speaking about it. This was, when I was still quite terrified of my own truth, my own inner truth, and I was not. I was being incredibly and relentlessly authentic, as I like to say, in my own private comfort of my own little space that I created for myself. But I was absolutely not. I was terrified, actually, of living that full out or sharing all of the things that I was shown. And so when the 7 wonders of the soul and this whole body of, of work and or a message from, that is for all of humanity, that I didn't know how to share it, and I was terrified to share it. And so it's interesting to me that here we are all these years later, well over 23 or 20, almost 24 years later, that, here we are at, and it's all of what these anchors, these 7 wonders were shown to me as being for. Now it makes total sense. And I hadn't even thought of it. And then when these sea doodles came through, that I'll share a little bit as we go along, it became more and more apparent that, like this aha moment that, this is what this is about. So the 7 wonders of the soul, just in a nutshell, are faith, hope, love, healing, growth, passion, and beauty. And while they are not sequential per se, they do, there is a foundation, those first 3, faith, hope, and love being the foundation. And they loosely correspond to what some would understand to be the 7 energy centers of the body, or the 7 chakras. They loosely correspond to the 7 colors of the rainbow. They loosely correspond to many, many, many other traditions. And I'm not going to get into all the specifics here because that's not the purpose of these videos. So we're going to look at, in the next 7 days together, our collective passage to a new society rich in love through the lens of these 7 wonders of the soul, and how this may unfold in the years to come with the 7 gates in the 7 years. So just as an overview, 2020 is going to be, related or corresponding to faith. It's about our foundation. It's about stability, strength, and steady progress. 2021 corresponds loosely to hope, and it's about change. It's about exploration, expression, and expansion, and opening up, a flowering. And then 2022, even more so, is about love and harmony. It's about nature and nurture and nourishing the human spirit, and individually. All of this is happening on both the individual and collective levels. 2023 healing is the 7 wonder that is loosely at place, and but healing in a whole new way, because it's about truth. clarity. And this keywords for that year that I've always given were spirit, symbols, and synchronicity. 2024, growth. It's actually about balance and how growth relates to and is supported by balance, flow, form, function. 2025 is about passion, and that is really about connection in all of these various ways that we can be connected as a society, ways that we have forgotten, and then ways that is begins within our human hearts. So even though we think of passion as, just in a very limited way, this passion is much broader and connected to all the nooks and crannies of society, and it's a reconnection. Keywords being sophistication, synergy, and sustenance. 2026, beauty. Everything culminates in this beauty. And as we move into 2027, which is really the end of this transitional period and the full flourishing of the new society rich in love, the key word there being creation. It's about all things forward. It's about framework, and it's about freedom. And ultimately, all of this is about love and freedom. So today, what I want to do is read you something that is, I wrote on my blog way back in, 2011, when I first started blogging, and I had a blog that's no longer available, but I was, looking at these 7 wonders and connecting them to 7 life shifts. So I'm going to read you the introduction to this blog, and then I'm going to share the 7 life shifts that again are happening on the individual and collective levels in the next 7 years. This is the opportunity, and the first that's being presented to us through our current circumstance we will talk about more in depth tomorrow. So just consider this larger context that will guide our discussion. And I just want to note that if you are running across this in a future year, it's still absolutely pertinent, because the way that I was shown it is that we're all moving through these various shifts at our own pace. Some of us may have actually moved through some of this on an individual level, but not together with everyone. Others of us have never moved through it on an individual level, and so therefore current circumstances are incredibly jarring and heightened, even more so than the actual health challenge that's happening here. And even if we have moved through these, we're going to do it at a deeper level, and we're going to move through it together. So what's really interesting is that we'll all have our own experiences, and that those are meant to enrich our collective journey. So the core concept I want to address today is this opportunity to break free from what has been holding you back, and to do so by embracing the 7 wonders of your soul, which again are faith, hope, love, healing, growth, passion, and beauty. So I'm going to read. Have you ever stood in the pitch blackness of a cave? I remember visiting Kentucky's Mammoth Cave as a child and experiencing a moment of terror mixed with awe when the park ranger, or was it my brother, shut down all the lights. I could no longer see my breath in front of me. I could not see my mother, who stood just inches away. I remember being flooded with gratitude, even then, at the gift of sun, moon, and stars, and what they meant to our world above ground. Without experiencing total darkness, my attention would not have been drawn to a deep appreciation for the light. In our lives, we encounter times of darkness. We can choose to turn our attention toward the light, those more rewarding, positive, and enriching traits that we desire to bring forth. Even by shifting our focus from present experience to what we want to attract in our lives, change begins. We naturally begin to notice what it is we desire. Our hearts and minds and spirits begin to pivot so that we are in natural alignment to those qualities. There are 7 major life shifts that have allowed me to begin to create the life I desire. Wow, this brings back a lot, you guys, because literally it was just beginning then in 2011, and yet I can't tell you the difference in how I experienced life itself. And now here, these years later, it's 9 or 10 years later, it's just phenomenal. I'm just a different person. So anyway, there are the 7 major life shifts that have allowed me to begin to create the life I desire. Interestingly, each of these shifts have opened up a pathway toward creating my business as well, and they are already allowing me to have a small part in changing the world, even as I share them here as a gift to you. Today I want to give you a top-level overview of these shifts, which I have built around 7 wonders of the soul. So again, faith, hope, love, healing, growth, passion, beauty. I picture these as a spiral staircase, each of the 7 built upon the preceding wonder. And these life shifts, or wonders of the soul, are keys to unlocking the fullness of each soul wonder, a gift from Spirit. I have discovered that it is my responsibility in life to turn the key, to open the door, or to open the gate, I would say, as we move through these collective experiences. In other words, each of us must begin where we are, then boldly reach for more, trusting all the while that when we ask, it is given. Here are the 7 movements or life shifts you must make in order to tap into a life rich with wonder. So we'll be going more in depth into each of these, and I'm just going to, give you the headlines here. So the 7 life shifts. Number 1, shift from doubt to faith, or from fear to faith. Number 2, shift from despair to hope. Number 3, shift from fear to love. Number 4, shift from sickness to healing. Number 5, shift from stagnation to growth. Number 6, shift from indifference to passion. And number 7, shift from bland to beauty, or boring to beauty. So we're going to start tomorrow with shift from doubt to faith, and we're going to talk about how that corresponds to what is happening right now in our world, and how there's an opportunity to build a solid foundation while everything seems quite, unstable in our world, unstable. There is an opportunity to move towards stability, strength, and steady progress right now, here in 2020. So I will meet you here tomorrow. Take care. Lots of love.